So the question is, who is acceptable? Not who's acceptable to be a child of a child of Israel, adopted, that sort of thing. But who is acceptable to teach, to intercede for the children of Israel and the visitors? Let me tell you who is not. Who is not acceptable are those people who place limitations on other people's healings. It is commonplace here in 2023 for leadership to tell you how bad things are and that you're supposed to listen to how bad things are, and they are the ones who are going to fix you. This isn't just common in politics. This is common socially, with social enterprises, with churches, with organizations that get their funding from government sources. They're going to tell you how to fix yourself. It's not God's way. God's way is to encourage each individual to find their own clarity. To find their own clarity. In other words, there are a set of standards that are acceptable to find your own clarity. However, the strength and the ability to do that is going to be consistent with the community that that particular person is attached to. And if they're attached to a community of enablers instead of examples, then finding clarity is going to be difficult. Clarity is found when there's accountability. Accountability is found when there's clear understanding of the standards by which to hold people to, which we all are looking for those standards, and we want those people who we feel are qualified to hold us accountable. So there's a young man that I know. I don't know him very well, but I know him fairly well. Extremely successful young man, works for a large corporation, owns a couple of gyms, I think, and he is Mr. Health. And if I decided to have his lats, his body's literally like this. The boy looks good, and he looks better as he's getting older, because I've known him for a few years. He just keeps looking better and better and better, in that you can tell he takes, it's not just the exercise, he finds out what to sculpture and how to sculpture it. You want to be around people who are that passionate about whatever it is that they have interest in. I'm just using someone who sculpts their body as an example, but people who sculpt their life, people who sculpt their investments, people who sculpt their relationships with their children, people who sculpt. There's a plethora. There's a number of things, a number of people who are qualified to teach based upon the experience that they've had. What you don't want is someone who looks at themselves in this imperfect way, and then looking on, everything's bad. This is terrible. This sort of thing. And then you're looking to them for leadership. Well, the leadership that they can give you is just that, imperfect leadership in their worldview and how they see their own circumstances. They project their circumstances on the people that look to them for leadership. Happening in all aspects of life. It's a pandemic. Everything's terrible. And it's not true. The reality is, knowing how to navigate different aspects of our life is important. So the leadership that is going to teach us how to do that is important as well. Leviticus chapter 21. Verse 17, speak unto Aaron, saying, whosoever of thy seed in their generations that hath blemish, let him not approach to offer the bread of his God. For verse 18, for whatsoever man that hath a blemish, he shall not approach, a blind man or a lame, or he that hath a flat nose, or anything superfluous, or a man that is broken-footed, or broken-handed, or crooked-backed, or a dwarf, or that hath a blemish in his eye, or be scurvy, or scabbed, or hath his stones broken. Ooh. No man that hath a blemish of the seed of Aaron, the priest, shall come nigh to offer the offerings of the Lord made by fire. He hath a blemish. He shall not come nigh to offer the bread of his God. He shall eat the bread of his God, of the most holy. In other words, he's still a member of the Levitical priesthood, and of the holy. Only he shall not go in unto the veil, nor come nigh unto the altar, because he hath a blemish. He profane not my sanctuaries, for I, the Lord, do sanctify them. And so Moses told him, hey, and this is the reason why I want to have these tough conversations, because I enjoy them. And I hope God will honor me, in the time to come, because I hope I'm honoring Him. But I believe He's given me the words of life as it pertains to these tough conversations that no one in churches want to have. Strike that. Not many in churches want to have. So it stunts the growth of our people. You are not unworthy to approach God. You're just as worthy before this happened and after this happened. You're just as worthy as Abraham, who was Abram, who was a liar. As Noah. And after this, as David, who was a murderer, an adulterer. You are acceptable. What isn't acceptable is someone to come denying their frailties. They're blemished. You can't intercede for people blemished today if you can't come clear. I have some flaws. I'm working on that. I'm mature. I was out last night talking about my flaws with someone, which I do, which makes most uncomfortable. But this particular person wasn't uncomfortable, which was refreshing, because I'm not perfect. Neither are you. None of us are. But we tend to hold our fake perfection in other people's face to make it seem like their imperfections aren't acceptable, but mine are. My imperfections are okay, but yours aren't. A weak person would believe that. I'm not a weak person. I come across sometimes as a very passive person because it's not my job to make someone believe a certain thing at all. It's my job to be honest with myself and find those who are interested in being honest alongside of me. It's not my job to sell someone. I have to be in touch with my weaknesses, my blemishes, my thorns in the flesh, my drinking habits, smoking habits, sexual habits. I have to be honest with my proclivities. So do you. But for you to act like your proclivities just because you're not talking about your proclivities makes it more acceptable, you're fooling yourself. In Leviticus chapter 21, what we're discussing here, or what I'm lecturing on, because it's not really a discussion, what I'm lecturing on is the importance of not being held to your blemishes, by not offering up your blemishes to God and being open and honest about them. Now, just so you understand, I'm not talking about the congregation. I'm still talking to my grandchildren and my brothers and sisters in Kenya. And if this is a blessing to you, then so be it. No, I'm talking to those who are called to leadership, servant leadership. This is a particular chapter, Leviticus chapter 21. Read it for yourself, please. That deals with those who feel like they're called to serve because they understand service is leadership. Everyone is looking for an example so that they can succeed. It is the nature of humanity. Pushing people towards God so that they can hear the words of God themselves and believe the words of God themselves without you being in the way with your blemishes. Offering yourself up as a living sacrifice to be a conduit to the Holy of Holies by opening up opportunities for people to bring their offerings to you so that you can make a blood sacrifice, so that there can be a meat offering with bread, oil, and frankincense, so that you can offer up the incense for them. In other words, leaving yourself out the way and your little blemishes, and make intercession for people whether you like them or not, so that they can meet God for themselves and change their lives, so that they can be holy, set apart, being validated. I used to tell this one guy, and I said it to him transparently. You know, if you don't bless me, who will? And it was like he looked at me and didn't have a clue. The guy, it was like looking at somebody who, you know, it was like staring at somebody who just had no idea of what I was talking about. Mind blowing. If people come to me for a blessing, I get, you know, I famously say I tell absolutely nobody no. I just set the parameters to meet. That's mentoring. That's apprenticeship. We set the parameters. That's the book of Leviticus. Do these things, and let's continue the conversation to help you get to where you need to be. That's mentorship. That's walking with people. That's helping people to become acceptable. I don't think it's that complicated because we're all blemished. We're all flawed. But if you're called to be a teacher, then you got to recognize it's your job to die, number one, so that you can be an example to those who are coming to you, servant leader, to get into the presence of God.